I only ignored him once. After that, he didn't stay on the porch. He started showing up everywhere I went. A couple years ago, I moved to a small town in the Midwest after landing a remote design job. I was done with big cities. Too loud, too expensive, too much everything. All I wanted was some quiet, cheap rent, a decent coffee shop with Wi-Fi, and a town where things didn't change overnight. Everyone there waved, literally everyone. That's not a cliché. People in trucks, teenagers on bikes, old women carrying groceries. If you made eye contact and didn't acknowledge someone, it felt like breaking a local rule. There was one guy in particular, an older man on the porch of a pale gray house, right on the corner of my route to the coffee shop. Every day, same flannel shirt, same faded jeans, same spot. He'd stand still and wave as I drove by. Always slow, always the same rhythm. At first I waved because I felt obligated. Then it became muscle memory. We never spoke. I never saw him anywhere else. He was just the porch guy. Until one morning I didn't wave. I was on a client call through my car's Bluetooth, distracted, trying to keep my head straight. I passed his house without lifting a hand, didn't even look directly at him. And that was all it took. The next day, I looked for him automatically, like always. He was there. But something was different. He was waving, but he wasn't looking past me like usual. He was staring, directly. His hand moved the same slow rhythm, but his eyes were locked to mine like he was trying to burn something into my brain. I waved back without thinking, but it didn't feel like enough. It felt performative, like I was doing it to make him go back to normal, not because I meant it. That same afternoon, I stopped at a sandwich shop 2 blocks from my place. As I pulled into the lot, I saw him, across the street, by a closed-down auto parts store, just standing there, not waving, just watching. I stayed in my car for a full minute, staring at my phone, pretending to scroll. When I looked up again, he was gone. That night, I saw movement outside my window, just a flash of motion. I live on the 2nd floor, so that didn't make sense. I turned off the lights and looked through the blinds. Nothing. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd just missed him. I didn't sleep well. I kept hearing soft taps, rhythmic, like someone brushing a knuckle against glass. The sightings got worse, more frequent, and closer. One morning, I walked out to my car and found a leaf tucked under the windshield wiper. Just a single red leaf, perfectly placed. It didn't seem like much, until I realized it wasn't from any tree nearby. Another day, I came home early and saw him across the street again, leaning against a light pole, not moving. I watched him through the peephole for 20 minutes. He never knocked, never approached. He just stood there. Once, I left my building to walk to the corner store. He was sitting in a car across the lot, driver's seat, hands at 10 and 2, staring straight ahead. I walked past, pretending not to notice. When I came back out, the car was empty, door slightly ajar. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was paranoia. Like I was being punished, and I didn't even understand the rules. So I avoided the coffee shop, took back roads, changed up my routine. Nothing worked. Then one night, I drove an hour away to a mall just to feel like I was somewhere else. I parked under a light and sat in the food court for nearly 2 hours, scrolling my phone, trying to feel normal. When I got back to my car, I saw something under the wiper again. Not a leaf, a piece of paper, folded twice. Inside was a printed photo of me sitting in the coffee shop, head down, laptop open, back when things were normal. But the shot was taken from outside, through the window, from the sidewalk. His angle. I dropped it. My hands were shaking so bad I fumbled my keys trying to unlock the door. When I finally got in, I just sat there, lights off, staring through the windshield. I didn't drive home. I drove nowhere. I took back roads, random turns, anything to keep moving. I was too wired to cry, too scared to be angry. All I kept thinking was, how long has he been watching? I got home at 3 a.m., parked blocks away, and snuck inside through the back stairwell. I left the lights off. Sat in my living room with a baseball bat and didn't sleep. At 4:17 a.m., I heard the door to the building creak open, then footsteps. Slow, measured. They stopped just outside my apartment. No knock, just stillness. Then the softest sound, barely audible, the sound of fingers brushing the door. Not knocking, just dragging. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. After what felt like a full minute, I heard him say, in the same quiet tone I'd heard before, "You forgot something." Then he walked away. I left the next morning, packed everything into my car and drove. No lease break notice, no goodbyes. I left furniture behind, dishes, clothes. I didn't care. I moved 2 states over and found a studio in a high-rise with security, cameras, and a doorman. I paid extra for top-floor access. For a while, things were fine. Until a week ago, at 2 a.m., I ran across the street to grab cold medicine from a 24-hour Walgreens. The sidewalk was empty, city silent, until I saw him, across the parking lot, distant, not close enough to see his face clearly, but I knew the posture. One hand lifted, a slow, heavy wave. I froze, looked around. When I looked back, he was gone. That night, I stared out my window until sunrise. But that wasn't the end. A few days later, I passed a diner. It was late. One customer inside, a man in the corner booth. He raised his hand, waved. Same motion, same tempo. And this time, someone else waved back from another booth. Like they were part of something. Like they knew. Maybe it's not just one guy. Maybe it's a pattern, a ritual, a test. What if waving back is more than just politeness? What if it's permission? What if you wave once and you're marked? And if you ever stop, they find you? Since then, I wave. At strangers, at porches, at parked cars. Not because I want to, but because I'd rather stay unnoticed. It's become automatic now, part reflex, part fear. A silent agreement I never signed but keep obeying. Still, I can't stop wondering, what if that old man was just a fluke? What if I was the only one he ever followed? Would it be worth the risk to try not waving again? Just once. Just to see if the rule is real, or if I imagined the whole thing. I moved to a small town in the southeast after I burned out hard in Atlanta. A friend of mine had an aunt who owned an old place just outside the town line. Nothing fancy, but cheap rent, quiet neighbors, and space to think. It was a 1-story brick house with chipped paint on the windows and a backyard that sloped into woods. The kind of house that creaks on purpose. You walk in, and it smells like warm dust and wet wood. I told myself it was temporary, just a 6-month reset. It was midsummer when I settled in. I worked remote, mostly stayed indoors with the AC humming. Grocery runs once a week. A local diner now and then. Other than that, I kept to myself. So did everyone else. There was only one thing that bugged me: the back gate. It didn't latch properly. Just a chain-link frame that would swing open with the wind unless I jammed it shut with a broken branch. I kept meaning to fix it. But like a lot of things in that house, I didn't. One morning, I found the gate open. I thought maybe I forgot to wedge it, closed it again. The next day, same thing. I made sure to secure it tighter that night, still found it open in the morning. Then things inside started feeling off. I'd walk into the bathroom and see the cabinet door open. My toothbrush tilted sideways, not how I left it, a kitchen light on that I never use, the dish sponge on the wrong side of the sink. I chalked it up to distraction, maybe some sleep-deprived forgetfulness, until it kept happening. One day, I came home with groceries and found the hallway closet cracked open. Inside, one of my jackets, usually hung up, was laid across the floor like someone had dropped it trying it on. Another time, I woke up to music playing softly. My Bluetooth speaker had powered on in the living room and was looping an old jazz playlist. I don't listen to jazz. Never have. It was subtle, quiet, almost respectful. Like someone else was learning how I lived and adjusting it, gently. I set up a cheap Wi-Fi camera pointing out the back window toward the gate. Nothing fancy, just enough to catch motion. For 2 nights, nothing happened. A cat, some leaves. On the 3rd night, at 3:12 a.m., the gate opened, slowly, nothing visible. But then the feed jittered, just a flicker, like something passed too close to the lens. The gate stayed open for 11 minutes, then closed. The next morning, I checked every window, every door. Nothing broken. But there was something in the kitchen that stopped me cold. A second coffee mug, clean, still damp, sitting beside the one I used. I live alone. I started noticing things not missing, but added. A pair of socks I didn't buy in the laundry pile. A folded gray t-shirt on top of the dryer. Wrong brand. Smelled faintly like detergent I don't use. One day I opened the fridge and found a half-used carton of almond milk. I drink regular. Always have. That same night, I found an unfamiliar razor on the edge of the bathtub. I stood there staring at it for nearly a minute, touching nothing, just absorbing the feeling that whoever was coming in wasn't just sneaking around anymore. They were settling in. I called the sheriff's office, told them I thought someone might be breaking in. The deputy walked the yard, shrugged, said something about raccoons and summer heat messing with your head. He never stepped inside the house. So I stayed up that night. No lights. Sitting in the kitchen with a bat and a flashlight, trying not to blink too much. At 2:43 a.m., I heard it. Not the gate, the back door handle. It turned, just once. I stood frozen, breath held, heart racing. I didn't move for 5 minutes. When I finally turned on the light and checked, no one was there. But the chair I'd wedged under the doorknob, it had been moved, set neatly aside, like someone had entered, quietly, carefully, and didn't want to disturb me. I packed a duffel bag that morning, drove to a cheap motel 10 miles out, slept with the lights on. Came back the next day around 9 a.m., expecting signs of forced entry. Or nothing at all. But the house was cleaner than I left it. The couch cushions had been fluffed. The trash was emptied. The bathroom smelled like citrus, and a candle I never lit before was burning in the kitchen. On my bed was one of my old shirts, folded, centered, like a welcome home gesture. And on top of the shirt, a printed photo of me, sleeping. Face turned toward the hallway. In the background, reflected in the bedroom mirror, was the faint outline of a person, just the shoulder, but close enough to the bed that I should have felt them breathing. I didn't go back. I left the state, never canceled the lease. I just let the place go. But even now, in my new apartment, I sometimes come home and feel the same weight in the air. Like I've arrived just after someone left. And every now and then, I'll find something off. A drawer slightly open, a blanket folded differently, a spoon in the sink I don't remember using, and I wonder, did something follow me? Or am I just noticing what was always there? Since then, I check everything. I photograph where I leave things. I track the food in my fridge. I make sure I'm the only one living in my space. But the thought still eats at me. What if I wasn't being haunted or stalked? What if someone was just waiting for me to leave? And now that I'm gone, are they still there? Living in my house or worse, waiting for me to come back so they can finish what they started? A guy at the gas station told me not to take Miller's Field Road after dark. I didn't believe him. But something on that road was already waiting. Last year, I drove cross-country to help my sister move out west. Long solo trip, cheap motels, gas station food, and long stretches of nothing but road. Somewhere between Tennessee and Arkansas, I pulled off into a tiny farm town to refuel. Nothing on the map but a single blinking gas sign and an old diner across the street. The place felt paused. Empty fields, sun-bleached houses, wind but no sound. Inside the gas station, the clerk looked like he'd been standing there all day, maybe all week. He rang me up, then paused when he saw the GPS route on my phone. "You're not taking Miller's Field Road, are you?" he asked. I shrugged. "That's what Google says." He tapped the screen. "Take the loop instead. Adds 10 minutes. But don't drive through there after sundown." "Why?" He didn't answer. Just looked at me for a long time and said, "People don't stop on that road, but if you do, don't get out." I smiled politely, said, "Sure thing." And then, like an idiot, I drove straight down Miller's Field Road. The road was narrow, shoulderless, flanked by waist-high corn on both sides. Not tall enough to block the sky, but just high enough that you couldn't see what was beyond. No houses, no signs, just cracked pavement and the occasional bent mailbox. My cell signal dropped 3 minutes in. Radio turned to static. Still, I wasn't spooked, just irritated. It was dusk, sure, but I'd driven worse. About 5 miles in, I passed an old pickup truck pulled slightly into a ditch. Lights off, no hazard blinkers. Looked abandoned. A half-mile later, a set of tire tracks curved hard into the corn and disappeared. Then came the fences, barbed wire, both sides. High, like cattle fencing, but newer. No gates, no houses. Just fences with nothing behind them but empty fields. I slowed down when I passed a scarecrow, except it wasn't in a field. It was just on the edge of the road, bent slightly, no arms and no crows. The sun dipped, and everything turned dark orange. I reached over to switch on my headlights and felt something wet on the dial, sticky, like syrup. When I pulled my hand back, there was a smear of dark red across my fingers. I looked down. Nothing on the steering wheel, nothing on my seat. But the light control was smeared, fresh. I kept driving, faster. A few minutes later, my car screen flickered, then died. The engine still ran, but my dashboard went dark. No speed, no fuel level, nothing. Then the smell hit. Rot, not sharp like garbage, thick, like something cooked too long and curdled in its own heat. And from that moment on, the road stopped feeling straight. Every half mile I was sure I was driving in circles. Same fences, same mailbox knocked sideways, same leaning pole. And then I saw the scarecrow again. But this time it was closer to the road. My headlights dimmed. Not off, just weaker. The corn on both sides felt taller now, like it had grown in the last 10 minutes. Leaning in, the barbed wire fences were gone. I was gripping the wheel so tight I didn't notice at first. The car was slowing, not stalling, just dragging, like something heavy was being pulled behind me. I checked the mirrors. Nothing. I tapped the brakes. Car kept rolling. I pumped them. Barely responded. Then, up ahead, I saw a shape in the road. Something hunched, low to the ground. It didn't move. As I approached, it raised its head. Not fast, just slow and sure, like it knew I'd stop. I didn't. I swerved hard, ran off the shoulder, and the car finally stalled in a dead patch of gravel. The engine went silent. Everything else did too. I tried the ignition, dead. No lights, no response. The shape on the road was gone. I grabbed my phone, still no signal. I told myself to wait, just wait until daylight. Then something knocked on the back window. I froze. It was soft, just once. Then the other side. Then nothing. I sat there, hand on the horn, shaking. Then the back door handle clicked. Not opened, just tested. I locked every door and didn't move for what felt like an hour. When the sun finally cracked the horizon, my dash flickered back on. The engine started. And just like that, the road looked normal. Corn low, no fences, mailboxes upright, no scarecrow. I didn't stop again until I reached my sister's apartment 4 states away. I never reported anything. Who would I tell? But sometimes I wonder, if I had gotten out, what would have changed? And the next person who stops, do they get the same chance to stay in the car? Or is it already too late by then? Since then, I follow warnings, even the weird ones. Even the ones that sound like ghost stories. But part of me still wants to know, was it just panic? Was that gas station guy messing with me? What would really happen if I took that road again, and this time, stepped out?